Yo, this car is money. All right, we're getting ready to go to the 2022 Chicago Auto Show. Let's go see what they have. Okay, so I'm in my 2019 Tesla Model 3. I'm going to go to the 2022 Chicago Auto Show to see what the latest offerings are from all the other suppliers, just to compare EVs. I'm specifically looking at EVs for this trip, so I'm going to go sit in all the EVs that they have to offer that they'll allow me to sit in and just give you my opinion on all of them, see how they compare to the Tesla. Do I like it better? Are there any real competitors out there for the Tesla? We'll find out. And we're going to be going in alphabetical order, so starting with one of my favorite brands here, BMW. And the first car we're going to look at from BMW is the i4 M50. This is their performance model electric sedan, and it is a direct competitor with the Tesla Model 3 Performance. It's got 536 horsepower, 586 foot-pounds of torque. The 0 to 60 is 3.7 seconds. Range tops out about 270, and starting price on this M50 is $65,000. You can get a base model non-performance for about $55,000. I will say that the interior of this car is probably the nicest of any car I saw at the entire show. A lot of carbon fiber, a lot of soft touch materials. The leather is very soft. I really like this car a whole lot. Next up is the BMW iX M60. This is their SUV performance model. It is about the size of an X5, so it is a fairly large SUV. All the bells and whistles on this one. This one's going to have 610 horsepower, 811 foot-pounds of torque, 0 to 60 in 3.6 seconds. That's a pretty quick SUV. Range on this is about 280 miles. Base price for the non-performance is going to be around $88,000. There is no price on this M model just yet, but it's expected to be well over $100,000. So this is going to be like in the range of Tesla Model X. The interior is very nice as expected. The only thing I'm not a very big fan of are all the switches that are in here. Even this rotary knob in the center console. It's just this clear acrylic looking material. It's supposed to look like jewelry of some sort, but it looks more like, you know, a bathroom soap dish to me. So not a big fan of that, but everything else in here is very nice, very futuristic, looks good. Here's a better look at some of those switches I was talking about. Doesn't look horrible, but it's just not my personal preference. Back seat has plenty of room, a lot of space back here. Very nice, easily fit car seats for kids. So yeah, this is good. If you've got a family, this is a very good size vehicle. Next up is Chevrolet. They only had one EV at the show this year, the Chevy Silverado EV. I'll be honest, I did not want to like this truck, but I really do like this truck. Very nice materials all around, very futuristic looking. The rear bed has a fold down area where you can stick longer items through the cabin area. Folds up when you put the seats back up. Even the tailgate has like a step in it. Very modern looking. The Silverado EV has 660 horsepower, 780 foot-pounds of torque. 0 to 60 is 4.5 seconds, so this is a pretty quick truck. Range is expected to be around 400 miles, so that's best in class. And MSRP is going to be just around $40,000 for the base model. Future versions will be anywhere from $50,000 to $80,000, depending on what trim level you have. The Silverado also has a power frunk with plenty of room up front. I'm very impressed by this truck overall. And next we have Ford. They have quite a few things to look at in regards to EVs. The first vehicle we're looking at is the Ford Lightning. This is Ford's F-150 electric truck, and I was really excited to check this one out. I'm a big Ford fan. I prefer Ford over Chevy, but I have to be honest, I think I like the Chevy better than this one. This is just very plain looking. It looks like a regular F-150 except for a few cool little things with lights and things like that. The specs on this is 563 horsepower, 775 foot-pounds of torque. 0 to 60 is around 4.5 seconds, so it's going to be very similar to the Silverado. Range is going to be 230 miles for the standard range, and they do have an extended range for 300 miles. MSRP will be between $40,000 and $90,000, depending on which trim level you pick. Overall, it is a good looking truck. However, it is more traditional looking. So this would be perfect for those who want to just fly under the radar and not get so many looks, when you drive your new electric Ford F-150. Next up is the Ford Mustang Mach-E GT Performance. This is the direct competitor with the Tesla Model Y Performance. You can tell this one is a performance model GT because it has, first of all, GT badging in the back, but it also has color-matched wheel arches. The standard model has a black wheel arch, and that's just kind of, you can tell from the side profile. Looking at the front of the vehicle, the GT model has a blacked out grille. It's a faux grille, but that's how you can tell it's the performance model. The traditional standard model is color matched with the other rest of the body. The GT model has 480 horsepower, 634 foot-pounds of torque. 0 to 60 is 3.5 seconds. And the range is about 260 miles. A starting price on just a base model is $44,000 for a base model, non-performance model. This GT Performance is going to start around $68,000. The materials inside did feel pretty nice, not quite as premium as my Tesla, but overall it was not bad. I liked it quite a bit. Not a huge fan of the vertical screen. Even the new Teslas have moved away from that. But everything else looks good. The huge glass roof looks nice. The way everything feels is very, very nice. Back seat had plenty of room, mostly due to this glass roof. It gives you a lot of headroom. Leg room was not the best, but it wasn't horrible either. I fit pretty comfortably back there. They had a few on hand here to give test rides, so of course I had to jump on that.
Okay, So this is the Mustang Mach-E GT Performance, 480 horsepower, 634 pound-feet of torque, 0 to 60 in 3.5 seconds. And I'll tell you one thing that your Tesla doesn't have is a volume knob.
Yes.
So that's one of my favorite, like, it's one of those small things that, like, is super nice. They did a good job, and what's cool, too, is, like, the climate control always stays on the bottom of the screen there. Even if you have, like, CarPlay or Android Auto on, that always stays down there, so you can always adjust that when needed. All right, we're going to do a little acceleration run.
Cool.
I'm going to assume it's probably going to be the fastest you've been indoors. Just a guess.
Yeah. Pretty sure.
Launch mode enabled. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And there we are.
There you go.
Right.
So around 30 miles an hour there on polished concrete. So a couple other features of the GT Performance: bucket seats in the front, magnetic suspension. You're also going to get a Pirelli high-performance summer tire instead of an all-season. Speakers on the dashboard here, speakers on the doors. We have our glass roof that goes all the way back.
Oh yeah, I like that.
Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, bunch of other features. All right,
Cool.
I'll let you
Thank
right.
you.
Yeah, have a good one.
Thank you, you too.
Another EV that Ford had on site is their e-Transit work truck. It is a rear-wheel drive work van, and it's got 266 horsepower, 317 foot-pounds of torque. Range is about 126 miles. Next up is a 1978 Ford F100 that they've called the Illuminator. Basically what this is a Mustang Mach-E crate motor that you can drop into your resto mod or project car that you want to convert to an EV. My own project car is a 97 Miata, and a Mach-E powertrain would be insane. GMC is up next, and they had one EV to show off. This is the Hummer EV, and this truck is massive. It's very wide, very tall. It's got everything you could possibly want in a truck. You can take the top off to make it convertible. This thing has 1,000 horsepower, and get this, 11,000 foot-pounds of torque. It is insane. 0 to 60 time is 3 seconds. Range is about 329 miles. And the MSRP on this is between 80 and 110,000, kind of depending on what you load it up with. The interior looks very nice. The materials all look very premium in there. Plenty of space, as you can imagine, just given the width of this truck. A lot of leg room in the back seats. Looks like a really good sized vehicle for any family, and I think it looks amazing. Hyundai has a few cars to show off. The first car we're looking at is the Kona EV. They do have a gas version of this car, so this is more of a compliance type of vehicle. It looks nice, but it does look like a more traditional SUV crossover type vehicle. You can tell it's an EV just by looking at the front of it. There's no grille. There's a charge port at the front. The Kona EV is going to have 201 horsepower, 291 foot-pounds of torque. 0 to 60 is about 6.4 seconds. Range is 258 miles. The MSRP on these start around 34,000 and go up to about 44,000. The interior is nice. It's not the best that I've seen. Very, hard plastics and not very luxurious. And it's just okay. It's not horrible, but not as nice as some of the other vehicles we've seen so far. The space in the back seat is not the greatest, but it's not horrible either. Next is the Ioniq 5. This one's getting a lot of buzz on the internet, and basically just for its futuristic looks. I think it looks actually more retro to me. I remember cars in the early 80s that kind of had a similar shape, but I think overall it looks okay. I'm actually a bigger fan of the interior than I am the exterior. Not a fan of the wheels. I do like the door handles that pop out and present themselves, and I do like this matte finish on the paint. But as far as the shape goes, I'm not a huge fan of just the overall look of it. There is a decent amount of space in the rear hatch for your luggage and other things you need to haul around. The Ioniq 5 comes in either rear-wheel drive or all-wheel drive. The rear-wheel drive has 225 horsepower, 258 foot-pounds of torque. The all-wheel drive has 320 horsepower and 446 foot-pounds of torque. 0 to 60 is about 5.1 seconds in the all-wheel drive version. Also, range is about 256 miles. And MSRP is between $43,000 and $50,000. So not bad. It's Model 3, Model Y territory. And the interior looks nice in the white. Just has that big, open, airy feel. Not a huge fan of these screens. They just kind of look a little dated to me. Some of these touch areas have like piano black. Leaves lots of fingerprints. Again, the interior is cool looking. I like the futuristic look to it, but I'm just not a huge fan of the way a lot of it feels, a lot of the hard plastics that Hyundai uses. But overall, it's not horrible. Not my favorite car of the show, though. Next up is the Hyundai Nexo. This is a little bit of a wild card because it is a fuel cell, meaning it's hydrogen powered. So this one's going to have 161 horsepower, 291 foot-pounds of torque. 0 to 60 is between like 6.5 seconds to 8 seconds. Range is 380 miles, which is pretty impressive. But the MSRP is over $60,000. Which is a little too much for a Hyundai in my opinion. It is a fully electric car. It just does things differently in regards to how it gets its electricity. It uses hydrogen to convert to electricity instead of charging it from the grid. The benefit of that is you can fuel it up kind of like a gas car, where it only takes 5 minutes to fuel up the hydrogen and then you can be on your way. Next up is Kia, and they have a few cars that we can look at as well. First car here is the Kia Niro EV. This one's going to be very similar to that Hyundai Kona that we looked at earlier. Probably shares the same platform. It looks very similar as far as the shape and the design. It's going to have a lot of the same kind of specs on it. 201 horsepower, 291 foot-pounds of torque. 0 to 60 is around 6.2 seconds. Range is 239 miles. MSRP on this is $39,000 to about $45,000. The interior is more traditional as far as all the knobs and buttons you see like in a gas car. And there's a lot of surfaces here that are covered in piano black that'll just leave a lot of fingerprints. The Kia EV6 is up next, and this is one of those cars that's also getting a lot of buzz on the internet, and for pretty good reason. I wasn't sure what to expect when I first walked up to it, but turns out I'm a fan. I like the way that the styling is. I like its sportiness. I like the futuristic looks. I like the paint. I like this matte silver. It looks really good in person. It also has the auto-presenting door handles when you approach it. It's got a glass roof that actually does open up. I've not seen an EV have that feature yet. The interior is very nice. A lot nicer than I expected it to be. I like the Kia a lot more than like the Hyundai Ioniq 5, for instance, which it gets a lot of comparison to. This one's going to have 320 horsepower, 446 foot-pounds of torque. This is for the GT all-wheel drive version. The 0 to 60 time is 4.6 seconds. Range is about 274 miles. And the MSRP is going to be between $40,000 and $55,000, depending on which trim level you pick. A lot of room in the back seat. And this is the rolling chassis for that EV6. So you can see it's dual motor with a flat battery pack in the center, just like a lot of Teslas. This is the same car in white, and I just wanted to show you this one because it did have a slightly different interior as well. As you can see here, the white steering wheel and some of the other seat elements are white. Looks good. I actually like this one a lot. This next car is a concept car. This is the Kia EV9. So it is a SUV, and what I do know about it is that it does have room for third row seating, and it also has a solar panel on the hood, and the interior is very futuristic. It has a pop-up steering wheel that disappears when you're not in the car, and when you get in the car it pops up and you can take over to drive. It does have cameras on the side instead of side mirrors. Very futuristic looking, very interesting looking. I do like this matte blue finish, pretty cool. And because it's a concept car, I don't have any specs on pricing or range or power. And we walked across the aisle to Nissan, where we were expecting to see a lot of Leafs, but there were no Leafs. They did have their new SUV called the Ariya. This model comes in two different versions. You can get a rear-wheel drive or an all-wheel drive. Rear-wheel drive has 238 horsepower. The all-wheel drive has 389 horsepower. 0 to 60 is going to be less than 5 seconds, so it's pretty quick. And range for the rear-wheel drive is 285 miles. All-wheel drive is going to be 265 miles. MSRP is between $45,000 and $58,000. The interior I think I like better than the exterior. The exterior is more generic. The interior was very nice, a lot of nice premium materials here. Particularly the dash had a wood grain where you could actually see the lights shine through the wood. Kind of reminds me of the alarm clocks that you can see the numbers through the wood. But yeah, it looks really nice in here. I think it's pretty comfortable and plenty of room in the back seats as well. Lots of storage. If you pop the hood, you'll notice that there is no frunk at all. It's all just motor and inverter and all the components that you need. We next found our way to Subaru, where they have one EV that they're offering. This is the Solterra.
Zero emissions SUV to have the capability and versatility of a Subaru. Legendary Subaru symmetrical all-wheel drive comes standard. Standard X mode with hill ascent and descent assist maximizes traction and control in difficult conditions.
So the Subaru Solterra was made in collaboration with Toyota. So they both have a car like this on this platform. The Subaru looks pretty nice from the outside. Not my favorite shape, especially the back where it's all squared off. I'm not a huge fan of. I don't like the traditional door handles. It just kind of looks pretty plain. This car is brand new, so there's not a lot of details out there yet, but what I could find as far as the specs go is that it has 215 horsepower, 248 foot-pounds of torque. The expected 0 to 60 time is around 7 seconds. Range should be a little over 220 miles. And there is no MSRP yet, but we're expecting it to be around starting point $45,000. As you can see, there is plenty of storage here. Even underneath, there's a small little cubby area down there. Not as big as the Tesla, but not everyone can be Tesla, right? And this is another EV that does not have a frunk. If you pop the hood, it's all business up here. There's your inverter, the motors underneath, all the components you need to move the car. The interior was probably the biggest disappointment for me personally. I'm not a big fan of the hard plastics again. A lot of piano black. You could just see fingerprints on everything. Even Tesla did away with the piano black in the new model vehicles that are out now. Also, I'm not a very big fan of this cloth. It feels very 1980s sofa upholstery, and not in a good way. There's plenty of room in the back seat. Actually a lot of space here. But again, I just wasn't a big fan of kind of the cheap feeling vinyl seats and some of the other materials they decided to use here. And we're at Toyota now. This is Toyota's latest EV. It's the BZ4X. And if it looks familiar, that's because it is the same car as the Subaru that we just looked at, just a different body styling and a couple other little features. This one you can get in a front wheel drive as well as an all-wheel drive. The Subaru you can only get in the all-wheel drive from what I understand. Again, kind of, you know, generic styling. This is the rolling chassis on this, so again, it's not going to have a frunk area. It's going to have, you know, all the motor and inverters up front there, flat battery pack in the middle, dual motors here. Everything is going to be very similar to the Subaru that we just looked at. The specs on this are going to be very comparable to the Subaru. So the all-wheel drive is going to have 214 horsepower, 0 to 60 is around 7 seconds, range is around 220 miles, and the MSRP is also expected to start around $45,000. Next up is another concept car called the Rhombus. And don't have a lot of specs on this. We just know that it's an all-electric car, has a lot of touch-sensitive controls inside. That center seat in the middle there up front does swivel around to the back, and in the back has more lounge type of seats where there's two facing each other side to side and one in the back. This is probably the most futuristic car here at the show. Very interesting looking. And next to the rhombus is Toyota's group of robots here. They've got package delivery type of robots. They've got disability type of machines here for people that are requiring wheelchairs. Very cool, futuristic, forward-thinking stuff. I like this stuff a lot. And lastly, we're moving on to Volkswagen. The only EV that they're showing this year is the ID.4. They have a couple different revisions of this. There's an all-wheel drive version as well as a rear-wheel drive version. Some of the specs on this, the rear-wheel drive is going to have 201 horsepower, 229 foot-pounds of torque. The all-wheel drive version will have 295 horsepower and 339 foot-pounds of torque. 0 to 60 is going to be around 5.5 seconds on the all-wheel drive. And the starting price is around $40,000, and that's going to go up to about $51,000 the more you spec it out. I think the exterior is attractive. The door handles are recessed. They don't actually pull out, so that's kind of neat looking. Plenty of room in the trunk area. Pretty comparable to, a Tesla Model Y, I would say. Not a lot of storage underneath, just enough to probably put your charging equipment. The interior is very nice. The styling of it is a little quirky, so it's not going to be for everyone, but I will say that the materials used are premium. Everything feels nice. Even the plastics are soft touch. I used to have a Volkswagen GTI and kind of had that experience as well, where it may not have been as high in horsepower as some of the competitor cars, but the interior was just a much better feeling to the touch, and everything just feels more premium in Volkswagens in general. There's a lot of space in here, plenty of room in the back seat. There's a glass roof to give you even more headroom. A lot of room here. This is a nice vehicle. It's now time to say goodbye to the Chicago Auto Show for 2022. Let's go back home and get my thoughts on what I saw. All right, so I'm just now getting home from the Chicago Auto Show, and I've got some opinions about everything that I saw. All right, so first I want to thank the Chicago Auto Show for allowing me to come film, because I do have a YouTube channel. I'm considered media, so I do get a media pass to come when there's not so many people there, which was nice. There was not any long lines, there weren't large crowds. So I got to really just walk up to vehicles and take a look at them. There were some that are roped off and they won't let you near, but there are many of them that you can actually get in, sit in, touch the dash, all the materials around to see how it feels and everything. I wanted to compare all the cars to what I currently have, which is a Tesla Model 3. I like the fit and feel of my car. I like the way the steering wheel feels, the dash, everything. The materials are very, they're nice, they're good quality. I just wanted to see what the competition is. Okay, so long story short, I did not find any vehicle there that I would consider as good or better than my Tesla. That's just my personal opinion, and I know I'm biased because I have this car, but I tried going in with an open mind, and everything had, you know, there were some really good cars, and I'll tell you which ones I like the most here in just a minute. But as far as adding it all up together as a total package, none of them were the total package like my Tesla is, in my personal opinion. So to be fair, there weren't a lot of brands at this show. This was a smaller show this year just because of COVID. They're not having a lot of people show up, I guess. So it was smaller than the previous auto shows that I've been to here in Chicago. And so a lot of brands were absent. There was no offering here by Mercedes, nothing by Audi, nothing by Mazda, nothing by Mini Cooper, no Jaguar. There was no Porsche Taycan. And of course, all the up and coming companies like Rivian wasn't here. Lucid Air wasn't here. All these other companies that you hear about in the news, they just weren't here this year. So in regards to the vehicles that were actually at the show that I got to interact with, I'll tell you what my top spots were, and I'll go in reverse order. It's actually going to be a tie for third place, so it's a bonus. So the first one for third place for me was the Kia EV6. I really liked the styling of it. I thought it looked good. It seemed like it was a decent quality. It's not top, but it was good enough. For the price, I thought it was okay. Tied with the EV6 was the Volkswagen ID.4. I've heard not so good things about the engineering of it and the inefficiencies it has, but as far as the fit and finish and every, thing that I touched, how it felt, it seemed like it was a really good quality, well put together vehicle. It felt solid, and I liked that. Number 2 is the Ford Mustang Mach-E. I had the chance to sit in the GT model, which is their performance model. It's super sporty. It felt pretty good. It wasn't, still not as nice as the Tesla, but it still felt really good, and I liked it a lot. The styling was okay. I'm not really a big fan of the vertical screen. I think Ford went with the vertical screen because they were trying to match Tesla. And then, they're like, well, the premium Teslas, like the Model S and X, have the vertical screen, so we're going to go with that. Not knowing that soon after, Tesla was even going to say, yeah, that wasn't well thought out. We're going to put a landscape screen in our Tesla Model S and X, so you can watch movies, play video games, and everything just looks better on that screen. So that was kind of a miss. But as far as just the feel and the way it handled, because we went on a test drive, I like the Mach-E quite a lot. And the number one EV that I sat in that appealed to me, that I liked the most, was the BMW i4. I thought it was great. You got to know my history though. Before I had my Tesla, I had a BMW and I traded it in for the Tesla. So I've already been accustomed to how BMWs are and just the fit and finish and the way they feel. I like that. It was very sporty. It had a lot of carbon fiber. It felt comfortable to sit in. The screen was decent. Again though, it was not as good as my Tesla, and that is why I would never trade this car in for a BMW i4. Now, I've seen videos of drag races where the i4 has actually beaten a Tesla performance model. So it is a fast car. It's going to have performance. The price on that one was $65,000, which was kind of surprising for an electric BMW. I thought it would have been a lot more. So I was pleasantly surprised by that. I think it is a direct competitor with a Performance Model 3. So if you like more buttons and knobs and more of a traditional car feel, but yet sporty, BMW i4 is not a bad car. I would definitely recommend you go test drive one. But if you like the more clean look and just nice texture of everything, I like my Tesla quite a lot. So you guys let me know what you think. Have you guys been to any of the auto shows? And what did you think? Did you see something that you really liked? Anything that stood out to you? Let me know. Put it in the comments below. Well, that's going to be it for today, guys. Thank you so much for joining me. And if you like the video, let me know by hitting the like button. If you want to see more like this, if you like the channel, consider subscribing. And I'll see you guys real soon. Bye-bye.